Hey guys, it's Mason, and this is Wrestling in the Dark, the only wrestling review and recap show brought to you by a blind fan. Probably. It's time to take a look at NXT UK episode 42, where the NXT UK Tag Team Championships are on the line, and we've got a little bit of exciting news concerning the WWE United Kingdom Championship. What happened? How good was it? If you want to find out, stick with me as I take a look through this week's NXT UK and see how it all panned out. You know you want to find out. In a pre-taped announcement, Sid Scala announced that we would have a fatal four-way match to determine the number one contender for the WWE United Kingdom Championship in 4 weeks, after Don and Walter 2, which will be in 2 weeks. He said that Johnny Saint has hand-selected all 8 men that will be in the tournament, and qualifying matches will be playing out over the next few weeks, including tonight, which I will get to later. But for now, opening up the night was Moustache Mountain versus The Hunt, both of which who have completely ridiculous tag team names. Like, I know people like Moustache Mountain, but you've got to admit that's a stupid name. And The Hunt, yeah, I think I've made my feelings known about gimmicks, and I do feel like those two are just gimmicks, but you know, they could show me some character in the future and completely change my mind. This match though didn't offer me a whole lot to cling on in terms of The Hunt, Primate and Wild Boar. I'm sure they got plenty of offense. There was lots and lots of tagging in and out in this match, but for the most part Nigel and Vic just stuck to saying that they had unorthodox offense. There was just a lot of that unorthodox offense to Trent Seven's back, and etc, etc. So I don't know whether what they were doing just didn't really qualify as traditional moves or whatever, but there wasn't a whole lot of calling of their action. It was the match for Trent and Tyler, really, which is fine because they are trying to get themselves back on the road to the tag titles, trying to get some wins behind them, pick up some momentum, and this really did just showcase them the way that this sort of match should. Trent sold for the beginning parts of the match with that unorthodox offense being fired at him. At one point, he hit a shot to the inner thigh of Primate and followed up with a DDT. Interesting little note. When I read back my notes, I'd made a typo and I'd put it down as Trent strokes the inner thigh of Primate, then hits DDT. That would have been a completely different set of moves. But yeah, he hits a shot to the inner thigh and then a DDT. A bit later on, he hits a back fist, then misses the 7-star lariat, goes for the hot tag, but Tyler isn't there. When he eventually does get the hot tag to Tyler, he comes in, picks up the pace big time like he tends to. He was hitting shots to the body, to the throat, to the face. He hit a knee lift, then a jumping uppercut. He hit an overhead belly to belly, followed by a standing shooting star press for a 2. There's lots of little different bits like that, but other than that, I don't have too many more notes other than Moustache Mountain hitting the clothesline dragon suplex combo, which I wish I could see because that does sound really cool. I gave this a very low 4. If there hadn't have been that in-ring stuff from Tyler, I would probably have given it just a 3, but I don't think you can give a match where they're pulling off standing shooting star presses, etc, a 3. It definitely had some decent in-ring action, just not anything particularly special, and it was Moustache Mountain's match. It was good to have them back in front of that UK audience and have Glasgow actually getting behind them in that in the more UK style way, actually singing for Trent and etc. So I really enjoyed having them back, even if I didn't enjoy the match too much. But yeah, Moustache Mountain versus The Hunt gets a low 4 out of 6, but at least Moustache Mountain picked up the win. After that, Nigel McGuinness was trying to talk about the Fatal 4-Way, but Vic cut him off and said that they got some breaking news because the cameras were backstage. Cut to backstage and someone has been attacked. I didn't learn who until later on in the night because no one said anything at all about it, which was a little bit annoying. Just thought, commentary could quickly recap that afterwards, but never mind. Afterwards, it was Joe Coffey versus Flash Morgan Webster in the first qualifying match for the number one contenders Fatal 4-Way. This was a very interesting match. Now, I don't have too many notes because I don't think that I actually wrote down too much. I don't think that there was a wealth of things that happened in this match, but it was very interesting from a storyline perspective because Joe Coffey comes in with the hometown advantage, and he truly has the hometown advantage too because they are fully behind him, cheering everything that he does. They're chanting, "It's your kingdom," etc., etc. Every time he shouts, "It's my kingdom," etc., they cheer him. So it was a really interesting dynamic, really played up on the mental disadvantage that Flash Morgan Webster was at. And I find it interesting, really, because it shows an understanding of the UK crowd, I think, because they either did this match a lot on the fly, or they knew that the Scottish crowd was going to be like way too far behind Joe for Flash to get over there, because this match was all about Flash struggling mentally with having the crowd that he's used to cheering him booing him. And it was really, really interesting. In the early moments, he was going for a headlock on Joe, and he kept trying, and Joe kept escaping. And every time he tried to lock the headlock on, the crowd would boo, and it was really getting in his head. It was distracting him, and it allowed Joe to pick up the advantage there. He was grinding him down with a full Nelson, and for a lot of the match, Joe was just keeping that nice steady pace, trying to keep Flash grounded, trying to wear him out. He did eventually start picking up the pace a little bit, but the crowd just still getting in his head. He managed to hit the Rude Boy block, but he didn't go for the cover because he was too distracted. At one point, he hit a high cross body, and then he was firing with the right hands, and the crowd again was booing, and it was distracting him. And eventually, he was so distracted with the crowd that that Joe was able to hit reverse a move, hit the knees to the back, hit the spear in the corner, and then hit Aura Best for the bells. And I really thought that it worked perfectly. Gallus cut a promo afterwards about it being their kingdom. They were trying to be heel on the Scottish audience because they were saying, "Listen, it's not your kingdom, it's our kingdom. It's Joe, Mark, and Wolfgang's kingdom." And they kept trying to separate themselves from Scotland, trying to elicit some boos, but they were just too busy cheering him. The best part of it was Wolfgang just sort of flipping out at one point and saying that he's gonna get Dave Mastiff, and he just sounded so mad, and then Joe had to calm him down, and it was just brilliant. This whole segment was really, really good. Now, I still can only give it a 4 because I don't feel like it was properly essential viewing. It was only a number one contenders match. As soon as Flash came out, I was like, okay then, whatever. I know how this is going to end. But I thought that the really did show an understanding of the UK audience, building the match around the fact that Flash is is a heel to the Scottish audience, not the hometown hero like Joe. And I thought that it was really, really effective the way that they structured the match there, even if there wasn't too much going on in the ring. Like I said, 4 out of 6. Really enjoyed this. It's nice to see Joe advance for the number 1 contendership, and it's going to be interesting to see where they go with Wolfgang as well. I was really intrigued by this. I'm really glad that they're out of New York. It was really good to see everyone getting so behind Gallus, because they're probably my favourite act on the show. Some women's division action next, as Nina Samuels took on Casey Owens. Now this was my least favourite part of the night. This was, in my opinion, it was a little bit ridiculous. Look, for the most part, when I'm watching, when I'm making my notes, I will try to write down everything that they call in terms of relevant and impactful moves. I'm not going to write down just right hand to the face or just something like that unless it's followed by other things. So I only have like 3 notes. I had like 3 whole notes for this match, and it's a drop kick from Casey Catanzaro. I'm so used to following Casey with that. A drop kick from Casey Owens, a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker from Nina Samuels, and then a Nina Goroshi for the finisher. And it was just poor. I don't understand why. Like, I get that they're trying to reintroduce this Nina Samuels character, this new leading lady one. I get that they're trying to give her a bit of momentum, but Jesus Christ, they could have made this match just that little bit better. You know, there was just nothing going on. It was slow paced. It was just full of exposition from the commentary. They were just too busy putting over Nina Samuels' character and talking about her attitude, etc., etc. And it just didn't fly with me. I gave the match itself a 2 out of 6 because I just didn't find anything good, really. I didn't hate it completely. I did think that Nina Samuels put in probably a fairly decent performance, at least with just the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and working the back to then hit the Ushi Goroshi or the Nina Goroshi, whatever. And that was actually fairly okay, but other than that, I just didn't get anything out of this match. I don't think either of them has that decent of an entrance music. Afterwards, Nina Samuels cut a promo where she said that Toni Storm really does deserve everything she has. She deserves the Women's Championship because of all the sacrifices that she's made, like leaving her struggling single mother and her baby sister, and said that she hopes that she enjoys the rock and roll lifestyle because pretty soon it'll be all she has, because Nina's going to take a title and then there'll be a new leading lady in NXT. Now, at the beginning of the promo, Nina was not doing well with this posh voice. She kept going backwards and forwards between like her actual voice and the posh. But once she regained her breath, she did actually slip into character a little bit better. And by the end of the promo, I thought she was actually delivering the lines really well, and I do like the character that she's playing. I just can't wait to see it in an actual feud rather than just pointless matches. I guess when I came into NXT and NXT UK this week, I was really hoping for some decent women's action because of the lack of that on the main roster this week. And really, the NXT match with Bianca Belair and Mia Yim was pretty good, but this one wasn't. You're free to disagree with me, and I'm sure that there were people that enjoyed it, and I'm sure watching it probably made it a bit better. But from my point of view, like I said, I try to write down any relevant commentary, anything that's important, and I just didn't even make that many notes for this, so there was nothing there. There was no substance and not even any real character shown other than the promo afterwards. So Nina Samuels versus Casey Owens gets a 2 out of 6. Dave Mastiff cut a short and sweet promo afterwards. I am turning a corner on Dave Mastiff. I didn't think this was the strongest promo. The thing is about Dave is that everything that he says is pretty cool, pretty intense. I'm not particularly sold on his delivery, but he's definitely been turning a corner since he's been in this feud with Wolfgang. Now, he says that after Wolfgang got in his face in New York, he was lucky that there was people there to pull him apart. He says since NXT UK started, he's seen Wolfgang and his little mates running round, and he says that next week in their qualifying match for the number 1 contendership fatal 4-way, he's gonna give Wolfgang the battering of a lifetime and smash his kingdom into little pieces. Really liked the content, actually liked the delivery for the most part. Still, just I want a bit of intensity from him. It's so casual. It's just like, all right, I'm Dave. I'm going to give him a battering of a lifetime. And I just don't believe it, but I definitely have turned a corner, and I do think that it's getting better. I guess I'd just like to hear a bit of gravel in his voice or something. When he's mad, like that actual segment where he was shouting at Wolfgang and they were having that little bust up, I actually was like, oh yeah, Dave Mastiff. And then it's when he's in these backstage promo segments or in the ring, I just don't believe it as much. But I'm really, really excited for his match with Wolfgang next week, and this was definitely a good way of announcing it and getting us hyped for it. The main event of the evening was Zach Gibson and James Drake, the tag team champions, set to take on Amir Jordan and Kenny Williams. Gibson comes out and he says, no, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do his voice. He says that he's heard from reliable sources that Amir Jordan is injured and he's not going to be able to compete, so there will be no tag team championship match tonight. The crowd boos. He says, hey, I'm dressed to compete. I'm just as gutted as you are. What I suggest is that you put your shoes back on, collect your belongings, and go home. Really thought that was a really nice line. He said, there'll be no fairy tale endings for Kenny Williams. And then Kenny Williams comes out. He says, Amir Jordan is injured, but you'd know all about that, wouldn't you? Implying that Gibson and Drake are the ones to attack Jordan. And Williams says that he's lucky enough to have other mates. And out comes a returning Noam Dar, who returns to a huge reaction. The Scottish crowd was very, very happy to see Noam Dar. This was a very, very mixed match for me, because there was a lot of times where stuff was going on that they just didn't seem to want to call, where they were just trying to talk about the characters and put over the story, etc. But there was a lot in this that I thought was really, really good. Kenny Williams and Noam Dar work very well as a tag team. In fact, I would like to see them as a permanent tag team, way more than I'd like to see Williams with Jordan. I don't think that pairing works very well, and I'd like to see Kenny Williams have that little bit more of a serious attitude towards him, because when he come out and he was like, oh, you'd know all about that, wouldn't you? And he's like, I'm lucky enough to have other mates, and brings them out. I don't know, he just had a really serious edge to him, and it was really, really enjoyable. Dar started the match. He was hitting many, many strikes to the chest and the throat and the face. He hit a Northern Lights suplex. That was really cool. The crowd was chanting Dar to the tune of the Imperial March. Anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's the Darth Vader theme, the do 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 do, and they were doing that but using Dar instead, and I just thought that was. I just thought it was really funny. I've never heard a chant like that before, so I thought it was pretty invented from the Scottish crowd. There was some nice high-paced stuff from Kenny Williams, hitting a cannonball drop kick. But after that, he went for another move, got caught by Gibson, but hit a DDT. He hit a flying back elbow at one point. Noam Dar locked in the knee bar on Drake, but Gibson broke it up. After that, the Scots got submissions on both of them. So this was that was a really nice point of the match. I really liked that Gibson and Drake were just sort of getting overwhelmed by Dar and Williams. They weren't prepared to fight at all because they thought they'd taken out the competition. And then not only that, it's Noam Dar making his return with a really fiery, intense attitude. So they were getting really overwhelmed. They were both locked in these submissions, and eventually Gibson managed to break free of his, but Dar kept his locked on. There was quite a lot of submission drama, especially towards the end of the match. I was really getting into that. At one point, Dar was locked into the single leg Boston Crab, because that was something that they were focusing on quite a lot throughout the match, was the fact that Dar has been plagued with these knee issues, going out for over a year, returning, then having to go for the knee scan, and finally returning again. Gibson and Drake were really playing up on that, really trying to work the knee, trying to take him out. They were attacking it and shouting. They were shouting at Williams that it was his fault, and I liked that because, as Nigel McGuinness pointed out, it's like Kenny Williams has asked his mate to do him a favour, and now it might end up having his knee hurt again. Like I said, at one point he was locked into the single leg Boston Crab, and he tried to tap, but Williams sort of dived in and put his hand underneath Dar's so that Dar would tap his hand instead, not allowing him to give up. And it was really cool because Vic Joseph played it up as this act of heroism, saving the match, saving saving his friend. And Nigel McGuinness was playing it up as a real act of cowardice, like, oh, how unfeeling is that? He won't let his partner quit even though he's in pain. And I really thought that was a really nice touch. Towards the end of the match, Gibson and Drake were just really having enough, and they were gonna go walk off again, but Williams attacked, and in the closing moments, Williams missed the tag that Gibson and Drake made. Drake came in and hit the gritty teeth dropkick, and then it was the Helter Skelter, and Gibson and Drake remain your NXT UK Tag Team Champions. Really thought this match was really quite entertaining. I still probably would only give it a strong 4. I thought that there was points in the match where it really did dip, where the commentary wasn't saying too much. I think for the most part, if the commentary, if there isn't anything vital going on in the ring, that if you miss it, you're gonna miss beats in the match. They just tend to fall back on the exposition, on exploring the storylines, etc. So I feel like there was a lot of that, so which is usually what they do when there's rest holds and stuff. So maybe there was just a lot of that going on, but I did feel like there was a lot of, like, just for example, at one point Nigel McGuinness said, Noam Dar using its environment to his advantage. And I was like, yeah, how? What was he doing? But other than that, I really did enjoy this. But the one thing that I really have to say is, there was a point in this match where I thought, you know what, I'm actually okay with this. If Kenny Williams and Noam Dar were going to stay actual tag team partners, I think I'd have been okay with them actually winning here. Obviously, I prefer it to be a little bit of a bigger occasion, but but I did get to the point where I was like, I think I'd be okay with this, because I'm getting to the point where Drake has no character. They never let him talk. He doesn't do too much. I like that he always manages to save Gibson. I like that Gibson always manages to save him. They do work incredibly well as a team, but Zach Gibson is a star to be made on his own. He should be in the same sort of position that Jordan Devlin is in. Once Walter and Dunn have had this match for the second time, once they've got the rematch out the way, they're going to do this fatal four-way qualifier match, and it looks like they might end up getting all members of Gallus in there. I don't know whether they will, but the fact that Joe's in, Wolfgang is going next week, but that's probably going to go to Dave Mastiff. I would like to see Gibson in this fatal four-way qualifier. He needs to be. I really want to see him in it, and I am sort of ready for this grizzled vets tag team to sort of be over. I don't hate them. I understand that they're doing well, but the United Kingdom Championship needs contenders, and he should easily be in that same position as Jordan Devlin. So I'm ready for Zach Gibson to go out on his own. Like I said, I really enjoyed this match. Thought there was some good parts to it. The commentary dipped in places, but for the most part, I like the story that was told, and it was nice to see Noam Dar back. This was a strong 4 out of 6 match. All in all then, this was definitely a better show than the previous 2 or 3 weeks have been. I would give it a strong 4 out of 6 for the show. It wasn't essential viewing. You probably don't need to watch this episode. Nothing will happen that will completely shock you, and there wasn't anything essential in ring wise, I don't think, that you won't have seen before. Personally, I probably would have swapped around the Moustache Mountain versus the Hunt match and the Coffey versus Flash Morgan Webster, just because they made the announcement at the beginning of the Fatal 4-Way qualifier, and I feel like going straight from that into the first qualifying match would have been a nice way to pick up the momentum. Feel like Joe coming out to start the show would have been a really good way of getting the Scottish crowd hyped up. But that's the only real thing that I would change, other than maybe just trying to put together a little bit of a better match between Nina Samuels and Casey Owens. I'd really like to see the women get used a little bit more, because it's really slipping in to that pattern that the other shows seem to have, where it's just the one women's segment. I mean, I missed it out in the run through, but after Mastiff was finished, he was walking off, and Kaylee Ray brought the camera back and said that she was here to make sure that no one forgot her name again, which is really ironic because I completely forgot that little bit. But I would just like to see the women get used a little bit more. They've got so much good talent. They've got so many good women in that division. I don't know. I realise they have a short amount of time, but I'd really like to see a little bit more of the women's division in NXT UK. Other than that, though, I did really enjoy this match. I thought I really enjoyed this show. I thought it zipped by fairly quickly, and the other 3 matches, the Coffey Morgan, the Moustache Mountain Hunt match, and the main event were all really, really decent matches that I enjoyed watching. Basically, if you've got a lot of time, go watch it. If you don't have a lot of time and you maybe want to watch a little bit of Ring of Honor or something like that, maybe just go check something else out, because there might be something a little bit more important. But like I said, if you have got time, there's no reason not to watch this. It was fairly good, and you might get something more than I did out of the matches. What did you think of this week's NXT UK? Let me know in those comments down below, and we'll get a conversation started. Let's be friends. If you've liked what you've heard here, remember to hit that like button. It makes me feel good. It puts a smile on my face. And if you want to stay up to date with Wrestling in the Dark, hit that subscribe button and the notify bell, and you'll never miss an episode. Right, guys, I'm off. and you should have a good one.